Okay.
Hi.
Okay.
Hi, Keith.
How you doing?
All right, you okay?
Yeah, good. Good. It's good to cry.
Hey, listen, sorry.
I do it all the time.
Hi, Dave, and who else is still here? So Suzanne's just coming on. So.
How are you, Keith?
I'm good. I'm good. Yeah. But yeah, really good.
Really good.
Really good. I'm really good.
It's nice to know that.
You'd have asked me this yesterday.
Can you convince us?
Can I convince you? Yeah, I'm really good. I won't say I'm not worried about stuff going forward, but I'm okay with it. It's either going to work or it isn't, and that's it in it. But you know, I'm just going to allow it all to work, and what's going to happen is going to happen. You know. But I'm really good. Eva's just made me a really nice cup of tea. First cup of tea she's ever made me, as a surprise, and it was really nice. Yeah. So yeah, it's good.
Just bear with me whilst I make sure that John can get into the room if it's all right.
We'll leave John to struggle.
How you doing, Dave?
Mr. Morris, how are you?
Very well, thank you.
Yeah?
Very well. Looking forward to hopefully some good news on Thursday from Prime Minister. Might have a hope of getting out of this in another 3 or 4 weeks.
So good news would be an easing off, not a continuation.
As long as I can get on a golf course, I'm happy.
Okay.
And all of the petitioning to government suggests within the next week or so, with quite strict restrictions, it will be allowed. There can't be an easier place to socially distance than the golf course.
I was just thinking that, yes. Yeah. Yeah, it sort of lends itself, doesn't it, to social distancing.
It does at the standard that I play at and my mates play at.
You've got a clear goal in mind then.
Yeah, I've my garden is immaculate, and I've played golf in the garden now every day for weeks, and I'm fed up with that course now. I need a new one.
Okay, so you just have to redesign your course now.
Yeah.
Go the other way.
No, it's too slopey going the other way. But no, things are still good, thank you.
Good. Thanks for that. Suzanne, how are you?
Hey, I'm good actually. Yeah, I'm good.
There's a theme running through this call already. I can spot it. There's a thread.
I'm like Keith. Today's good. But I've had
You're not like Keith, Suzanne. Believe me. In the nicest possible way, Keith. Suzanne's not like you.
Other than that, I think it's very similar. I've shaved today, so.
Oh well, I've not shaved today, so I'm a bit, granddaddy.
So you're okay, Suzanne?
Yeah, I've had. No, I'm really happy today. I've some downs for sure, but I figured there've been good downs now because I have a good cry, and then I feel so much better. I haven't a clue why. Sometimes things come, but that's perhaps a good thing.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a good thing. I'm saying.
Okay, I wouldn't disagree.
So, yeah.
Talking of shaving, I'm gutted that John didn't comment that I've shaved my head.
Have you?
There's a good reflection off that light through the window, Sanjay.
I got fed up of trying to trim it.
I can see now. Yeah. Nice.
When there's nothing to trim, there's nothing to trim.
Ah, John.
How are you, John?
Pardon?
How are you, John?
I'm fabulous, thank you. Life is enjoyable.
Yes, I was just sharing before most people came on because B was the first one to come on, and she was feeling a bit down. I said, well, don't worry about it. We all had a good cry, which set her off. So, John, you lost your bet. We haven't even started, and we already started crying.
Not surprised.
Something in the air.
Again.
How are you now, B?
I'm okay. I feel better for crying. It came from nowhere.
Mm.
So,
Where's
yeah.
it gone now?
Pardon?
So where's it gone now?
It's just gone. I don't need to cry anymore.
Good.
Yeah, I call it the EM cry. It's come from nowhere suddenly, because I'll be driving along and suddenly I'll start crying. Or I'll be just doing something and just start crying. And it's like, a right bugger, especially if you're with someone. The EM cries are good.
So whilst we may get a few more people joining us, but let's begin with the people that are here now. And we were just having a brief chat before the kind of 4 o'clock time. And the sense was, we started off these calls a few weeks back in response to COVID, but it doesn't really feel like it's about COVID anymore per se. It's more about anything that could be going on. COVID was just the reason for starting these off, and the feedback I've received certainly is they've been very useful for people that are attending them or have watched them afterwards as well. What's your sense about where you are now, and do you want to keep it on the topic of COVID, or do you want to expand it? And if you want to expand it, are there any particular topics you'd like covered as well? Because for me personally, this is about us gathering and airing whatever it is that we're struggling with and getting some help in moving forward from that. So John, you first, and then Dave, and then we'll open it up to people if you want to just state where you're at.
Oh, cheers, bud. Been put on the spot. Yeah, still, as I was saying before, still the whatever the COVID thing is, or wherever it's put us, it's kind of, it's just like life, but magnified or condensed into a smaller time frame. So my highs are higher and I have dips in between. But that's okay, because that's what it is to be human. More and more just struck with the stunning amazingness of being alive, which is the one thing which is overlooked, and which the present situation has the capability to bring into sharper focus. And that's certainly been a theme for the second half of the week. But at the time, as I say, we're still human, we're still in this life, and it has its struggles, or what the mind interprets as struggles. So those are still there as well. But even that is now coming more from a place of acceptance that, as I said, this is what it is to be human, and to love that part of it as well. So, in a peaceful place, I would say. Are you muted? You muted yourself.
Sanjay's muted, yeah. Yeah, nothing to add, John.
Yes.
Yeah, everything is as it's meant to be. Everything is perfect. Nothing to do, nowhere to go. Just enjoying being present. What's right here, right now.
Yeah, I think I did mention on a previous call about experiencing just that appreciation that you are able to experience things, whatever they are. And for me at the moment, I'm thankful of the opportunity that I've got to explore things that I've probably always wanted to explore, but for whatever reason, I'll say it would have been, I haven't had the time, which is a bit of a nonsense. Haven't chosen to explore them in the way that I am now. And I'm noticing the resonances and the synchronicities and the coincidences of things that I'm either reading or watching or hearing different people saying basically the same thing in a slightly different way, maybe. Yeah, so I'm certainly not in a bad place, which must mean I'm in a good place, whatever that is. So I'm absolutely, yeah, completely thankful for that, and just becoming more conscious and aware of the things around. Yeah, and Dave mentioned earlier about wondering about if in 3 weeks, at the end of next week on Thursday, if we're going to get news about the easing of the lockdown. I've had a few instances in the last week where things have come up and I thought, oh, I'm not sure if I want to be that busy again. Which is that's honestly where I am. I mean, we're doing more of these calls, which are wonderful. I'm finding the opportunity to speak to people in ways that I hadn't been, which again is I thoroughly enjoy doing. So it's just really personally for me at the moment, as things are. I'm in a good place. I say I'm certainly not in a bad place, which probably means I'm in a good place. I'm in a place anyway. That's about what I can say about it, I think. I'm certainly in a place, yeah. You're welcome to come in. Come and join me.
So if we have a couple of people just commenting on where you are, what you want out of this, and I'd like to read something before we continue as well after that, so that perhaps there's some context and Dave recovers from laughing as well. He is first. He wants Suzanne. Do you want to share what you want out of how this has helped, what you want going forward, and yeah, let's hear from you.
Okay. So what if I'm going forward? I think for me at the moment, I've kind of, from speaking to you and some great buddy calls, I've kind of got back into a really good place again. And I think for me personally, a lot of it is down to just acceptance and enjoying and stopping and switching my head off a little bit and not listening to all the noise it's creating. So I'd like to learn how to do that. Perhaps this is coming from my head, but I'd like to learn how to stay in that place more, and to stay in that place of, like John and Dave were talking about, when everything is just so beautiful and you accept everything is just how perfect, how it should be. And it's when I'm there, it's amazing and immense, but my head can kick back in and take me out of that and start making me worry about things. And so I'd like to learn how to be more in that other place, if that makes sense. More often.
Sorry,
Okay.
Tell me it's a decision, aren't you?
Sorry, I interrupted John. Let him comment first, and then I also had a response to that. John?
No, I was watching a Wayne Dyer thing on YouTube. I mentioned this to a few people. In fact, I may have mentioned it to you on Friday, Suzanne, but it was just this beautiful expression. He said, "Sell your intellect and buy bewilderment."
Okay, yeah.
Forget about what's going on in here. Just accept whatever the hell's going on in there, because it's going on whether you want it to or not. But just accept that. But then just be present and take a moment to look around you. It's there all the time. It's never anywhere. Wherever Dave is, the present is always here. So just be there.
Yeah. Okay. and try and switch this off sometimes, or more times.
Don't try and switch it off. Just accept it for what it is. Whatever's going on is going on.
Mm.
It's fine. Don't judge it.
I was going to say that I don't think we were in a place of it all being bliss of about half an hour ago, because we met up just to catch up before the call, and all of us burst into tears out of pain for different reasons. And so sometimes it's bliss, sometimes it's hell, but bliss and hell are both judgments on the same thing. It just depends where you're looking from. So wherever you are, and this language of I'm in my mind right now.
Mm.
Okay, if that's where you are, be there.
Mm.
Bliss is actually being there and accepting,
Mm.
rather than trying to change where you are.
Right.
Trying to change where you are to be somewhere else, being here but wanting to be there, or trying to be there, that's where hell is. Just being there is where bliss is. And
Just
if you're there, be
being
there. If you're there, be there.
Mm. Mm. Okay. Yeah, and experience it all.
Well, you are anyway, whether you accept it or not.
Yes. So enjoy even the crying parts and the sad parts. Just go.
And even when you want to be somewhere else, you're still where you are.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you are where you are. Heaven or hell is just a decision from where you are, of how to interpret it. And whether you interpret it as heaven or hell won't make a difference anyway to the experience, because you're still experiencing it.
Mm.
How you experience it may change, and you go, oh, this is bliss, or this is hell. It's still an experience.
Mm.
And it's an experience of here and now. Even though you want to be somewhere else, it's still here and now.
Mm.
In the memory of something, a memory of the past,
Yeah.
you're still experiencing it here and now.
Yeah.
In an imagination of the future of how things could be, it's still being experienced in the here and now.
Mm. Mm. Yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hence, I guess the Zen saying, wherever you go, there you are.
Yeah, makes sense.
So who wants to top that one then? Because you all look very silent. Okay, it's gone. Let me just enable your microphone, or see if it's on.
That's it.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, I think what you just said is very important, to accept the shit as well as the good stuff. Just accept it, allow it to happen, let go of whatever emotions are coming up around that. I've been doing that a lot over the last couple of weeks. I've been letting go of a lot of worry about setting up on my own again, and am I going to get transport, am I going to get this, am I going to get that. Whilst I was letting go, I've had a couple of people contact me possibly about doing some work for them. I've got to put some prices together for that. I've had somebody who I don't really know that well, but he said, you know, if you need a van or a car, let me know. He'll buy it for me and just pay him back when I can. So that was out of the blue. And then somebody else has said, my old boss has said, he's getting rid of one of his vans, so can have it and just work it off around the farm. Just do it over a period of time, just as and when. So here's me worrying about how am I going to afford all this, and then suddenly I've got two people in the same week come and offered me vans or cars or whatever I need, and if I need any help financially, they'll help me, you know, which has been quite emotional, to say the least. So I've had to really work on accepting graciously, and so I said, yeah, thank you very much. Whereas at one time I'd have just gone, oh no, I can't do that. So now I've learned to accept and be grateful. Don't need to take the van. I was just going to see what happens, you know, but we'll see. But it's accepting all the crap that's been going on and not thinking about it or worrying about it. and not worrying about what the future is going to hold. Just accept it and allow things to happen, and setting the intentions about where I want to be. So yeah, pretty good. So Friday I was a blubbering mess, crying my eyes out, and then yesterday and today I'm all right. Pretty good. All good.
Keith,
Dave.
how about if you didn't judge it as being crap?
Okay.
Would it be any easier, or would it be any easier to accept it?
I don't know, because I think accepting is just a decision, isn't it? You just accept that's how it's going to be. So whether it's crap or not, it's a crap thought or crap position where, you know, there's no money in the bank, I can't pay this. It is what it is. So maybe the word crap might not be the best thing, but for me, it's I can go, okay, that's the shit that's happening. I can just accept that, you know, and do that.
If it wasn't shit, if it was just happening,
yeah,
that's the way it is.
Yeah.
Would it make it any easier to then accept it? And
I don't know, but I'll happily explore that.
Just a thought.
Yeah, I'll explore that and see what happens, see what comes up. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Here's another thought. We talk about shit and good things, but isn't shit the manure for the good things to grow?
Yeah.
Unless it's John's.
I'll ignore that. I always say I feel really sorry for the people in Los Angeles, because to them it's just another sunny day. We get a sunny day here, everybody's over the moon because of all the crap that we have to put up with. So you aren't going to get one without the other if you live in the world of duality. But the other thing that struck me while you were talking, and we've all been here, is if you do get to a place of genuinely accepting and letting go, and then stuff happens, it then actually becomes more difficult next time to really let go and not do the deal. Just to really let go and not care what happens as a result, but to genuinely let it all go.
Yeah.
And that's tough. It's tough.
Thank you.
So does anybody else want to share anything before I just read a small excerpt to stir you up maybe? Is anything that is happening for anybody that they would like to share? Diane, hang on, you're muted. Okay.
No, I think it's good to join in and just get the grounding. I think it's been a roller coaster of a day, from what was a shit morning to having a really positive and powerful buddy call, to joining Jen for her 40th birthday online and connecting with so many people, and then finding out that a member of our team died on Friday night, just in the last few minutes, and everybody's looking to me for the answers of how we respond to that, thinking, shit, I should know all of this and I can't think straight, to be able to respond. Just feels like a roller coaster.
And emotions are a roller coaster. Life is a roller coaster. And whether we're up or down, we're still on that roller coaster.
I think, as something Dave was saying just a moment ago, this time has been so good on so many levels, to really get an insight into myself and how I respond to situations. But it's this needing to know all the answers and the pressure I put on myself to do that. And then my mind just went blank, thinking, shit, how do I respond to that?
That's a good place to be for you, Diane, with your mind being blank. So spend more time there.
Yeah. In the meantime, I've still got to find the answers within an hour.
Perhaps you need to find the answers, or perhaps you can allow the answers to find you.
I think also, just from what you were saying, Sanjay, we're on this sort of emotional roller coaster, if you like. I think the pressure people put on themselves is to then try and steer the roller coaster. But when you get on a roller coaster at the amusement park or wherever, you just sit down, it's on tracks, and you've just got to get on with it and get to the end of the journey. But in trying to steer it, it's never going to work. But in trying to steer it and direct it, that's when everything doesn't go according to whatever your plan was. Well, no, because the roller coaster is going to go on the tracks of the way it's going to go. Despite however you may try and steer it, you're going to lose every time.
And unlike the roller coaster in the amusement park, we don't have this belt or this grill coming down and strapping us in. We actually have the choice to try and get out of the roller coaster, which is actually damn sight more dangerous than just sitting there, because the roller coaster does come to a stop at the end of the ride. But we try to jump off whilst it's in full flow and then wonder why it hurts. So
I get that in one context, I know, but when you are doing a job and there's an expectation that you have got the answers, then you can't just sit back and do nothing.
What have you said about doing nothing? Sitting back isn't doing nothing. Sitting back is perhaps allowing the answer to come to you rather than you being responsible for going out and finding it amongst the myriad of different potentials. What if you sit back and just become a magnet? Because it's not in the traditional way of doing things, we think that's cheating, that's ducking out, that's whatever we call it. But how many, who here has ever sought for an answer and sought for it and sought for it and sought for it, not found it, and when they eventually just relaxed, the answer just came, boom, just came through.
Yeah.
That's the pressure that either you're putting on yourself or other people are, that you must have an answer now. And if you haven't got an answer now, doesn't mean you won't have one later.
One of the most valuable things I learned in what I do is if at the front of the room I don't have an answer, I don't go into, I've got to find the answer. I just say, I don't know. I'll come back to you, because I do know that when I say I'll come back to you, by the time I come back, the answer will have appeared. Buddy first and then Keith. Come on, Buddy. Oops, hang on. Can you just unmute yourself from where you are?
Yeah, I shan't touch it again. Easy. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I just wanted to say, life is a roller coaster, and it's the answer will come to you when you're there, and death is part of what happens. Can happen to us, can happen to me now, can happen to anyone. No control. That's all I wanted to say, really. I mean, don't want to waste time.
Yeah, I was just going to say, you might be looking for the answers, but the answers you come up with might not be the answers that the other people want. You don't know how they react, what they want. So all you can do is be there and find out what's coming up for them and deal with that. It's not your job to come up with an answer for them.
Yeah, two separate things. Sorry, it's as a director of people within an organisation, you have to respond to the situation. There is an expectation there. Mm-hmm. It's not about, I can absolutely deal with what's coming up for other people. It's just the territory of the role, and the fact that my own emotions were coming up in trying to be calm and support other people through it. I guess is the pressure I put on myself to know the answers.
So there are two aspects there, just picking up on the language that you've used. That you have emotions means that you're human. And you can't divorce the role from emotions. And being director of people doesn't mean you have all the answers. Sometimes responding is saying, right now I don't have the answer, and I'll come back to you, and as soon as I find an answer, I'll come back to you.
And I did all of that. I did all of that in the moment. But I think it's just this pressure I put on myself after.
And
where do I start looking?
that's the more pernicious thing, the pressure you put on yourself.
Yeah.
So if you told them that you'll come back to them, they've accepted that, or they haven't. But whether they have or not is not something you're in control of.
No.
And you can only go back to them with what you go back to them.
Mm-hmm.
But in the meantime, putting the pressure on yourself, does that make it easier to find the answer or harder?
Harder.
So let me read this bit, which I wanted to, and then we'll take comments on that from people. So just bear with me whilst I read this. So this is the reading. Each of you is a portion of God, saying, I will create. It is quite impossible to recall at what point in your existence you, as a part of God, decided to become human. Since your fundamental essence is God energy, which is creation, you create. You are the creator. You are the creation. You create your distortions and you create your truths. This is how you learn. You choose the childhood environment that was the most effective catalyst to bring into focus your distortions that you have selected to work on in this lifetime. It is a masterpiece of planning, construction, and tactic that you have put into forming your body, your mind, and your emotions. Trust the wisdom of your soul that chose the infinite circumstances that formulated your concept of life. You are the creator of your planet as well as your life. This is a planet of choosing, where you can see both the darkness and light, and you have the freedom of choice. Heightened awareness is very much an integral part of your planet's healing. Your world is in physical crisis. But what is crisis? A learning process. Have faith in your fellow human beings. They are educable. So what does that, hearing that, bring up for you? Bearing in mind that this was published in the mid-80s, it was written or probably came into being a while before then, and we are in 2020 now. And he's talking about the world is in crisis.
World's always in crisis. Or what we define as crisis, anyhow, which is just actually life doing its thing, which is people living and people dying.
And what about you are the creator and you are the creation?
That's my experience.
So just another thought, if you are the creator and if you are the creation, is everything that is happening not just something that you're experiencing that's your own creation? And if all you're doing is experiencing yourself, what then? If everything that we are experiencing right now is ourself, that's all that is. We're just experiencing ourself. What are we worrying about? What are we stressing about? What are we kind of beating ourselves up about? So, open for discussion. I just killed it.
Well, I think it's it's going back to taking responsibility, isn't it? You know, and accepting it's our fault, and everything that we do is down to us, good and bad. And we just have to, you know, choose what do we want to do. Life's going to happen, whatever happens. We just have to choose how we react to it and what we create in our own lives. And it is our responsibility and our job to do that. Maybe job's not the right word, but you know, it is down to us at the end of the day.
So a couple of things there, Keith. You started off by saying it's our responsibility, it's our fault. Does responsibility also mean fault? Or also, it's up to us what to create? Well, yeah, it is, and you have created what you're experiencing. You already created it. So if you can create this shit, you can also create something great.
Yeah. That's what I said, it's up to us what we create, good and bad. Yeah. And how we react to things that are going on around us as well.
Dave, go on.
I think the essence that I got from that was it's the difference between accepting and resisting. For me, you know, the situation is exactly as the situation is meant to be, but it's what I create is how I either resist or accept it. And I feel for you, Diane, because I lost a good friend on Friday. The difference is, in this situation, I was able, with the group of friends, we're all a bunch of golfers and we work together for years, and then we play golf together 7 or 8 times a year. And as a group, we were able to remember him as just the fantastic friend that he was, without any responsibility to respond in any particular way, to take any specific action. So we were just able to remember him and all the amazing stuff and really good, all the good times that we had. He was only young, same age as me. And I had to sit with that and think, you know, how am I reacting? It's very similar to last week's comment about, is it apathy or is it peace and acceptance? And I went through that process with myself, and it is peacefulness from my perspective, because there is no expectation for me to do anything from a business and work perspective. Just remembering him. But that's for me, Sanjay, what you've just read out there is the situation, lockdown, whatever we want to call it today. I could either be really pissed off, really fed up, really miserable, or I can accept that the day is what the day is, make the most of it, and then tomorrow will be whatever tomorrow brings along. And it could be the same as today, as it has been for the last 6 weeks. It could be completely different. But again, it will just be, it's my reaction to it will create whatever that day is for me.
Thank you. So, what is it that others are experiencing, that you've seen others experience maybe as well? Not just yourselves, but others. How do they react to this? Because as a group of people, as a community on the whole, we are generally seeing the lightness rather than the darkness. That doesn't mean the darkness doesn't exist. That doesn't mean we're denying that it exists. We're just seeing it from the light side. If you have a choice, my suggestion is choose the lightness. It feels better than choosing the darkness. But it's still the same situation. It's like saying, you know, you can be rich or you can be poor. Well, give the choice, be rich. It's not about suffering for the sake of suffering because that makes us more holy or a better person. where do you choose to suffer? Because if we are the creator, we are always choosing as well. Where do you choose to suffer where actually you don't need to? What situations have occurred maybe in the last day, the last week, the last month, the last year, where you've suffered, but that was a choice. You didn't need to have suffered because you could have seen the likeness. Because what you feel is a result of your interpretation. Whether you look at it from lightness or darkness, that will dictate how you feel. The situation is still the situation. Okay, buddy, you'll need to unmute yourself. Yeah.
I'm sorted, thank you. With regards to the lightness and the darkness, is it kind of a duality? Isn't darkness just the lack of light? You know what I mean? If you could just expand on that, Sanjay.
Yeah, sure. I mean, maybe lightness and darkness isn't the best example, but it is opposite sides of the pendulum or two different sides of the same coin. There was, I don't know whether he was a philosopher, but a guy called Spinoza in America. He said, it doesn't matter how thinly you slice it, there's always two sides. So darkness is one side and lightness is the other. Depends which way you're looking at it, from heads or tails. That will determine your interpretation and how you feel about the situation. So your viewpoint will dictate how you feel, but it won't change what is.
The other thing to bear in mind is that we, excuse me, it may sound a little bit weird, but we judge suffering as being bad. As Tolly Birkin, makes a point repeatedly in his books that in every act of suffering, there's an opportunity to learn and to grow. He actually says if you're still suffering, it just means you haven't suffered enough. Because when you've suffered enough, you'll have done with it. But there is value in suffering. Again, the good and bad, that's just the judgments that our mind puts on it. It can be pleasant or unpleasant, which is a different thing. But instead of trying to make the suffering go away, always look for the value. Always look for what can be learned. And there's a beauty in it as well.
I remember very early on in my growth, sitting in front of a teacher, and I think it was Brandon Bays at that time, who described suffering as exquisite. And it just completely fried my brain because I couldn't understand what she was on about. But having experienced a lot more of it, I now agree with her. That suffering, just as beauty can be exquisite, it's how you accept it. Some of you heard me describing this raging peace, and one person commented, I've never heard peace described as raging. Well, peace can be raging. It's when you just experience it. Peace isn't stillness. It isn't a lack of movement. It isn't this place where nothing happens, that you're not faced by anything. You can be thrown all over the place, and because you're not bothered by it, it can be raging. So there can be a huge amount of movement in peace as well. So there are a lot of people who say, I want to be at peace. And when they are, they wish they weren't because it's raging there. Because their concept was stillness. So what else did that excerpt bring up, if anything?
Suzanne?
It's everything is just like an illusion. So it's the illusion that I'm seeing through my lens, my eyes. And somebody said earlier, you can decide whether you want to see it in a good way or a bad way. And that makes complete sense, because we're experiencing it anyway. So experiencing it in the best possible way, whether that's, if you're in pain about some things, it is a learning, and it can also be the best place to dive into and then come out of so much higher. So for me, it's what I got from that excerpt was, this is just an illusion. Yeah, you can see yourself. You can actually look at yourself if you go somewhere. So to actually experience it fully and to immerse yourself fully into every experience, that's what I got, I think. Yeah. And if it's an illusion, does it matter? No, it doesn't. It's yeah. So just do it. Just experience and dive into everything.
And an illusion can be enjoyed. How many of us have been to see a magician and how the magician, completely and utterly fool us into believing the reality of what they're doing, when all it is an illusion. It's a sleight of hand. And we enjoy it. We actually pay them money to pull the wool over our eyes. And then life comes and gives us an illusion, and we feel like we're being cheated. So which illusions do you suffer from that you could be enjoying? Because that illusion is actually showing you how the wool is being pulled over your eyes.
Really...
I think we need
So what else? What else is coming up for people, whether from that reading or from anything else? We've got another 10 minutes or so to go before the hour, and
there's no law that says we have to go till 5. we could finish early.
Oh, we could go to 6.
We've got to give value for money, Jack.
It wouldn't feel right if we finished on time or early.
Julia?
You just muted yourself, Julia.
There we go.
Okay.
You're unmuted, you're right.
Yeah, as Paul would attest to, I had quite a big meltdown on Wednesday. I like to refer to it as my midweek meltdown, which was all to do with homeschooling, which, as Diane will know, I have had a few control issues around. But actually, it was a really good thing, because it allowed me to release a lot of the emotion that I had inside me around this particular area. And actually, Thursday and Friday went remarkably well. We got more done in those 2 days than we had probably the rest of the week. And at the end of Friday, we hadn't finished everything, and I just emailed their teachers and said, we haven't done it. We're not going to. And walked away from it, and felt great about it. And what I realised was that I had allowed myself to get sucked in with my other fellow mums, who seem to spend the entire week stressing themselves out about homeschooling and how they can't possibly fit it all in, and it's ridiculous that we're being asked to do so much and all this kind of stuff. And I had been sucked into this hole and I just needed to not worry about it, because it doesn't matter. They're 5 and 8 years old. It really isn't the end of the world if they don't get their schoolwork done.
So,
yeah,
so Julia, I have a challenge for you? What if you got back to them and asked for detention because you haven't finished your work? Just try and see what response you get.
Oh, what, to the other parents?
To the teachers.
Oh, to the teachers.
When you're confessing to them that you haven't finished.
Yeah, well, one of them wrote back and said, no problem. Have a great weekend.
What else can they say?
Yeah, it's crazy. And actually on Saturday night, every Saturday night we have a quiz with a group of parents from school on FaceTime. And the mums at the end of the quiz started down this really destructive path of stressing themselves out. And I was like, oh my God. And I actually just said, ladies, it's Saturday evening. You just need to chill out and enjoy the drink, because there's no point winding yourself up now for what hasn't even happened yet next week.
What was their response?
To continue talking about it. I just muted them.
You can lead a horse to water.
I know, right?
That's how they choose to experience it. That's their
Well, Paul had fallen asleep on the sofa, so that's how he chose to experience it.
That's how he experiences most things, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, that's all I.
People getting caught up in the drama of their own lives, like it matters.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
Dave?
Just to pick up on what you just said there about homeschooling. So my daughter's 8 as well. So I saw a brilliant interview with the head teacher, and he said, just do what you can. It wasn't my daughter's head teacher, sadly, but he just said, just do what you can. And when they come back to us, we'll put it all back together again. So don't worry. And for Phoebe, we're doing things like home economics. So that's baking chocolate cake. English lessons and maths lessons combined. She's learning how to play Scrabble. So it doesn't have to be, we've got all the set lessons and everything else that they send home, but it's about just trying to keep their minds ticking over so that at least when they go back to school, they've remembered what lessons are actually about. But a bit like you, I can get stressy about it because I think it should be done in a particular way. That's just me wanting to have control. But when I saw this head teacher, and he was so clear and so simple, he said, don't worry about it. Just do whatever you can do that makes sense, that keeps the kids happy, and we will sort it out when they come back.
There's actually an opportunity to allow kids to be kids, which they miss out on a lot in the education system that we have.
This is an amazing opportunity for kids.
Take them out for a walk in the countryside. Let that educate them.
And just allow them to have that extra time with mum and dad.
Yeah.
And we did. We went on a 7K walk with them today. We've picked loads of wild garlic that we're going to make into pesto, and they are absolutely filthy. They're covered in mud, and yeah, that's what it's all about, and that's the beauty of the time that we have, and that kick up the arse that it's given us to realise that this is what we should be doing with our weekends, and not running around like maniacs trying to fulfil all this other stuff, because it doesn't matter. Like, this matters. This is the thing that matters. And they're so calm. They're really enjoying it. And I hear them playing together. They play together so well. And they come up with the most amazing stories. And they've built these huge towers out of Lego. And they've got like a whole Star Wars themed thing going on. And it's beautiful to listen to. And I wouldn't normally stop and listen to it. Like, you just kind of, doing stuff. And now I stop and I listen to the stories that they're creating and everything. useful to listen to.
I suppose it comes back to, doesn't it, the pressure. It's the same thing, the pressure we put on ourselves to do what we think we need to achieve or whatever. And actually that the magic is in what you've just said, in the being and the listening and the allowing creativity to just happen.
Yeah.
And imagination.
Yeah.
That ticks all the English boxes, doesn't it? And a few more other boxes without trying.
Dave, you should put on your Chewbacca costume. They might notice that you changed it.
I thought we were on the bridge of the Millennium Falcon for a minute. I was trying to work it out.
It was that mention of Star Wars Lego.
So, anything else? Are we done?
Just what Julie was saying, something that I say very often is that, you know, the beauty of life, the real joy is in the everyday stuff that we just don't notice. And just being here now with you folk, it's magic. It's beautiful. Right here, right now. And to be able to listen to your kids and watch them playing and stuff.
Yeah.
It doesn't get any better than that. And it's here all the time. Just pay attention.
You'd have thought that when you turned up on this weird course called Emotional Mastery, you'd be like this a couple of years later. So those of you that are coming to it, looking forward to it, it's going to be different. And again, you know, if you know anybody else who could benefit, feel free to put them in touch with us if they want to chat, or just book on. And you'll be different emotional mastery, and yet you won't be, because it's about learning the basic tools that have allowed us to be in a place where we can actually be surrounded by crap and still be able to function and enjoy and to still live life. So, any final thoughts from anyone, or should we finish on that? Keith? Hang on. You're allowed to unmute you.
No, I'd just like to say how grateful I am for these calls on a regular basis, and also the things we've learnt over the last few years through EM and yourself and everyone. It's just made such a massive difference in my life, and I just want to say thank you. That was it. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, if that's it, have we got a call next week? I can't remember. Dave, John, have we got a call?
Nothing in the diary that I'm aware of.
Yeah, because it might be that this is the last one before Emotional Mastery, and then we'll start again after that. So we'll check that out.
Unless we do one next Sunday.
Yeah.
We've got next weekend yet, before EM. I'm assuming we'll be back next Sunday, unless I'm told different.
Well, Dave, you and me will be here.
I'll be here anyway.
You'll be sat in front of your computer anyway. So
I'll join you.
Okay, right. Thank you, everybody. Enjoy the rest of the day, and catch you all very soon.
Okay. Take care. Stay safe. Keep smiling.
Bye.